after a cyber attack hit the nation's largest health insurer, thousands of pharmacies are still facing disruptions, fulfilling prescription drug orders.
You potentially get into life and death scenarios where patients can't gain health care, or in this case, patients can't gain access to prescription medication.
The attack crippled Change Healthcare's digital network, which is a part of United Healthcare. The company says it took immediate action to prevent further impact. Pharmacies use Change's network to verify insurance coverage.
Okay, so we have established here life-saving medication, absolutely mission-critical service. People need this to survive.
And if you have a very expensive medication, you might be stuck in a position where you have to pay cash.
Oh, so even if you need some life-saving medication, or you just want your Ozempic, you're not going to be able to get it without having to pay for it because their systems are down, inconveniencing no doubt thousands.
In order to get it, at least temporarily.
Times are hard these days, and something like that, I mean, I'm sure that would impact a family.
Initial reports said a foreign actor could be to blame for the cyber attack, but Reuters now reports the infamous ransomware gang Black Cat may be responsible.
Ransomware. If I had any kind of ability to pass any kind of law, it would be simple. If you are in a mission-critical industry and ransomware takes you out, you're over. You're done. You've lost your license. Ransomware in 2024 should not be a problem in mission-critical instances. Average users here and there, sure. But it, A, means that you don't have appropriate network controls and security. That's got to be the first thing. Is you don't have appropriate permissions on your file shares. So people are able to crawl extremely important information on applications with probably, I would assume, average user permissions, or even if they had administrative permissions, they crawled everything and encrypted it. Because ransomware is just a script that runs with whatever user privileges that run it. And it crawls as much of the file systems as it can, and it encrypts it. And you stop that with proper permissions and proper user controls. And then you fix it with backups. Backups. So if you can't recover, then you did it wrong. If you're in a mission-critical industry that gives life-saving medication to patients, image your workstations, back up your data, have hot standbys, do whatever it takes. This is a 100% preventable and solvable problem. Isolate your users. Don't give them permission to everything. Make sure people aren't running as administrators and take proper backups. You've solved the ransomware problem.
Why are they so concerning?
So Black Hat is the same organization that took down MGM and Caesars Entertainment. That was very, very damaging to those organizations.
Cyber criminals are increasingly targeting healthcare systems. Earlier this month, a cyber attack on a Chicago hospital shut down phones and computers. With this latest attack, a pharmacy near Pittsburgh is using the honor system, giving patients their meds now and billing insurance later.
That's embarrassing.
It's also risky is you're going to process a claim, and are you, whenever the insurance is back up and running, are we actually going to get paid what we should get paid for that prescription?
Large pharmacy chains like Walgreens and CVS are reporting only a limited impact from this attack, but it's the smaller pharmacies that have been most affected. Many have switched to paper processing, which is causing delays and backlogs.
How is that easier than just getting good backups? All right. Okay. All right. Somebody save me. Explain it to me. This is Unlucky by Curvea.
Came to a head, and when it did, it hurt you less than a me. But I laughed for a minute, came back, and you'd already found someone else. Silly me, thinking I was under control. Silly me, thinking it was fair play. Silly me, thinking I'd put one foot in. Little did I know you had me wrapped around you. Silly me, standing there. Didn't know I had it all. Makes me kind of blue. Turn, oh, I can't kill time with you no more. Makes me kind So it seems that suddenly it's past my time with you. How fast it flew. Feels like deja vu. I have to sit it through, but I'm quick to find my feet and kill time with you no more. Makes me kind of blue. Turn more. I can't kill time with you no more. Makes me kind of blue. Turn more. I can't kill time with you no more. I've learned from this last
You said Alphabet's cheap. How do you know it's cheap? How do you know it's cheap?
Well, when you look at Google or Alphabet, I guess
You call it whatever you want.
I'll call it that. I will tell you that it trades at a discount to the market right now.
What's its forward? It's 24.
18,
No, it's forward. It doesn't trade at a discount. It still trades at a premium.
Slight.
It's at like 19 times. It's like 19 times.
19,
Yeah.
yes.
If you believe the numbers, because they haven't
listen,
been able to deliver on the numbers.
Their healthy fundamentals
only
have
cheap
been
if they're not Bud Light.
overshadowed by management missteps.
I'll come to you in a
right?
sec, Josh. Hang on.
I think there's concerns about reliability in their AI models.
I'm not sure if this guy's sober or not. I'm playing this as a demonstration to show us that the financial types are trying to figure out now where Google fits. The title of this clip is The Not So Magnificent Seven, Alphabet and Apple. I don't know, maybe this guy got a little bit too many beers at lunch. I'm not sure. He seems a little medicated of some type or drunk. You tell me. What do you think?
Hang on.
I think there's concerns about reliability in their AI models. You type some things in, and some unexpected things come out. I would call that a management misstep, right? So you've seen a little bit of backup. There's long-term concerns about the moat around their cloud computing business, and lack of progress on operational
Okay. All right.
efficiency.
I'm just screwed around.
But it is one of the best positioned companies to capitalize on AI if they get their house in order. And you could take me back well over a year ago when we were saying some of the same negative things about Meta. Okay?
Meta.
And they got their house in order. Meta cut 22% of their workforce. Over the last year, Google cut 4%. There's room there. I'm telling you, there's operational leverage in that business, and I'm comfortable being overweight that in our growth portfolio.
Okay, Josh, you wanted to say?
Wow. Okay.
I fully agree with what Rob is saying on Alphabet, and the parallels to Meta should not be lost on the audience. Meta looked like it was finished at the low. The low was like Jimmy Cramer after the earnings on the air, like basically apologizing for being bullish on it.
What?
But the bulls were right. Jim was ultimately right. And, Meta was in that place for a variety of reasons. And it's different reasons why Alphabet's there. They have not done as much as Meta has done to, quote unquote, streamline or get fit. And as we talked about yesterday, there are probably some problematic ideas circulating around the headquarters that have nothing to do with running a business successfully.
Problematic ideas, that has got to be the most limp wrist way for him to try to be like I don't know, what do you call it, a woke warrior when you're anti-woke? What is it called? No, because that's probably when you're woke. So I don't know what it's called, but he's doing a bad, he's so uninspiring I can't even think of the name. How about that?
Fit. And as we talked about yesterday, there are probably some problematic ideas circulating around the headquarters that have nothing to do with running a business successfully. But there's still—
I don't know, man. See, I think that's actually a little short-sighted. I'm not saying they're the correct set of ideals that we could seem to grok from observing Gemini. But I do think that when you're a large organization, you do have to have some galvanizing ideals. You have to have some you have to have something. At least this seems to be the business mentality. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think only so many people are going to work for a company that's only motivated by profit. A lot of people want something more than just, we want to make the company rich. And so you got to give them something. And the bigger you get, the more you got to give in terms of the grandeur of the scale of the vision. So I don't know how they could get out of this, because I feel like they have built this idea of this mission that, only Google can solve, only Google can do because of this and that and this and that, which I'm sure they've all articulated to each other for years. So he just kind of dismisses it out of hand. But I would say, one, it's actually kind of a requirement in order to organize and motivate a large group of people. And then two, I'd say it's not very easy to get rid of once you've picked it, because they're pillars of the company. I think it's a very challenging problem, actually.
That have nothing to do with running a business successfully. But they're still extremely profitable, and they have like a lot of talent that's not Sundar. Roof being a really great example.
Whoa. Are you getting the vibe? They're like, if Sundar had to go, if he had to go, there's still got a lot of good people. It's not like he's the one that's like doing this either. So, he's not the engineer, he's not the woke person, and if he had to go, they got a lot of great people.
But they're still extremely profitable, and they have like a lot of talent that's not Sundar. Roof being a really great example, and she seems as though she wants to get more aggressive cutting. Look at what they started to do with the other bet stuff. Basically rein in the kindergarten that they have in an airplane hangar out there.
Wow.
So I think that there is a lot of opportunity for Google to right the ship.
The moonshot, he's talking about the moonshot projects, which it's so disrespectful, because they're probably some of the most talented, intelligent engineers that Google has, and he calls it the kindergarten.
Do with the other bet stuff. Basically rein in the kindergarten that they have in an airplane hangar out there. So I think that there is a lot of opportunity for Google to right the ship.
Okay.
But I don't expect anything out of this stock right now. It looks like they're trying to turn themselves into like the Bud Light of technology. People are not going to revisit this stock anytime soon until they demonstrate that they're as serious as Zuckerberg was a year ago.
Do we expect anything out of another name that starts with an A in the Mag 7, which feels like it just hasn't gotten a lot of love, Jason Snipe, lately, and that's Apple?
Yeah.
6 months, the stock is no money. It's up 1.5%.
Yep.
Everything else in the space is up astronomically more than that, with the exception of Alphabet, when we talked about the well-documented issues and the most recent pullback in the stock, which was more dramatic than in a greater period of time. They have their shareholder meeting tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if it's a stock-moving event or not. We'll find out if anything gets announced. Doesn't usually fall in that category. But nonetheless, what's the issue here?
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, the stock is down 6% year to date, right? I think for me, there's a couple of things. One, on the earnings report, China was a mess. China was down 13%. It was not a good quarter in China. We know what's happening over in China. I think the AI play, again, Apple is not being identified or recognized as an AI player.
Yet.
But yet, to your point, Seth, yet. I don't know if they're going to talk about anything tomorrow. I think that comes later.
No, it's probably going to come in
I think that comes later in the year.
Summer.
But I think that eventually Apple will be, again, they're one of the most innovative players in the space.
If you were a stock buyer, don't listen to me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I think they are right. The Apple stock is going to continue to kind of slide, not really do so well. And then Tim Cook will come out there and say good morning at WWDC. And it's going to be AI everything, I bet. They've been very intentional about just not mentioning it much. But they've on the back end, they've been open sourcing their models. They're working on it. And they already use a lot of machine learning and whatnot in their devices. So they got the neural processors in the M series. So, man, when they pivot, They are going to come out, I think, in a big way on AI. And I think the stock could possibly rally. So probably, I mean, if you're going to buy some Apple stock, it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be a wild coder radio for WWDC. I'm going to have to live stream that one. I think I'm going to have to live stream that one. All right, I'll let this guy play out. I don't love him, but we'll let him play out.
They will be rewarded, and they're going to do something.
Steph, you want to give me a quick thought before we take a break on Apple? Because it's a relatively recent move for you to get into it.
Yeah, so I've been underweight forever. I still am, but I've been adding to it on weakness.
Eat a
Down
sandwich,
10%
girl.
from its highs. I thought the quarter was just fine.
Oh, hello, handsome.
Nothing to get too excited about.
Hello.
But the guidance, we got it cut. Got that out of the way.
So buy Apple stock. That's my takeaway.
Yep.
They're gonna sit on their hands with this AI stuff until WWDC. Then they're gonna come all out with all their open source stuff and their in-house stuff and the neural chips, and they're gonna be like, boom, Apple's an AI company. Should we put that? We should put that Garmin thing in the thing, huh? I'll go grab that.
Yeah, they killed.
Yeah. Spoiler. God. How you doing over there? You doing all right?
I am exhausted, but that's fine.
Sorry. Last week I felt like hell after the show. I got like this bad headache. I had to like lay down and kind of clear it out. I woke up, it was a little bit better. It was, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what was up, man. I'm sick. All right, if you're listening on the commercial streams, welcome in. Nice to have you here. Why don't you join our chat room? Coder.show/matrix and help us bang suggest as we go along. The chat room is open. No inappropriates.
He's a jackass.
None of that, because we're going to vote at the end, and the best will get the wiener title, whatever that is. Because you can't trust us.
Let's be honest, I can't be trusted.
No, you can't trust us.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. Move that so I don't spill my drink. Oh yeah. What is this? God, dude, we're almost at 60. This is 559. Holy guac, man. Jeez. Hello, Drew. Wait, not that one. Okay, hi, Drew. All right, Mr. Dominic. Jump in at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't hear you. Where'd you go? Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, let's do our 4 count.
Let's try again. Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
All right. Chat room, it's up to you now. Please, Bengals, so we can get a good title. And we begin in a 3, in a 2. This is Coder Radio, episode 559 for February 27th, 2024. Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and, yes, the business of software development and the whole world of technology. My name is Chris, and over there, polishing his Florida Man badge, it's our host, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike.
Hello. Yes. Are you participating in this year's Epic Games?
I think I'm gonna become a resident after I heard about this. I had no idea how cool your stay was. I'm jealous.
So, the Florida Man games have
big
transpired.
Crowds.
Big crowds.
Yep.
They have many activities, such as evading the police. This is a real thing. These are pretend police, right? Evading the police with 2 pitchers of beer in hand. There's gators involved, of course.
Oh, yeah.
It can't. And really, it's you have some of the highlights here.
I did. I liked this one. I thought maybe this one, it channeled it pretty good. There was one where the participant was getting interviewed. He says, and he's a spectator, and this is according to the AP. And he said it was a stupidity occurring on the grandest, most spectacular scale. And the quote he said that I loved is, "I've lived in Florida my whole life," the guy's name Gordon said, as he's washing sauce from his hands and beard. The AP notes.
As one does.
Yes. You picture this guy. And here's what he says. He says, "They're calling these events. I'm calling this a fucking Tuesday afternoon." Oh, jeez.
I have to tell you, that's fairly accurate.
Yeah. Apparently there was a muddy water fights where they filled an inflatable pool with muddy water, and then contestants beat each other with pool noodles and duct tape.
Absolutely.
I love the theft simulation where competitors race with a pair of bicycles, copper pipes, and catalytic converters. So that's very good. That's good. That's very good. $45. $45 to get in there. They exceeded 5,000 sales. The organizer said in a disappointed tone, "There's typically drugs and nudity, but the city frowned on it when I asked for drugs and nudity."
Listen to me. That is kind of the scandal here, right? If it's a Florida-themed event and several lives aren't both created and ended, then you've done well, but you haven't really you haven't hit the gator by the tail.
I don't know,
right?
man. As I get older, I mean, when I was in my 20s, I would have cringed at all that, but as I get older, I'm like, that just sounds like a good time.
Even the authorities here are so aware of our proclivities that they very conveniently, each county has a website where you could just check if someone's, in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. It's all out there. What could be embarrassing about that? Nothing at all.
That's nothing at all. No. And that's not the real reason for this reputation.
Oh, shoot. As we go on the air, Mr. Dominic, Mark Gurman tweets that Apple has finally canceled the Apple Car project after a decade. They say that some employees are shifting to generative AI teams at Apple.
Totally makes sense, right? The name of the game to keep your stock price up, what investors want to see now is don't spend money, cut, talk about AI.
I think also we're seeing the decks get reorganized in a way that can't be hidden before WWDC.
Yep.
Apple stock, the live stream and I were just watching CNBC debate where Apple fits in with the Magnificent Seven anymore because their stock's just sucking because they don't have a, quote, AI play. And I think it's obvious. They're gonna go big on AI at WWDC. It's going to be all about the Apple Vision Pro and AI, and it's going to be all of it together, including their neural processors and all their devices and their open source models they've done recently and their new teams. It's going to come, and it's going to be a total AI pivot from Apple, and it's going to be it's going to be a big WWDC. I'm feeling like it's a big one. And
they're going to talk about enabling developers to do AI on local chips.
Yep.
They're going to whip out their federal privacy badge, and it's ultimately not going to go anywhere.
Oh, whoa.
Just like the Vision Pro.
You are spicy. All right,
I only came in second in the Gator wrestling competition. I'm a little frustrated right now.
I'll take the other end of that bet. I think you might be wrong potentially because there is this grassroots support for all the M series chips with a lot of these AI projects that are cool and hip. A lot of these models you want to load are I went and tried out Invoke AI last week. And there's a dozen different ways you can install it. And if you're on the Mac, you can just run this script. And then you run this script and it just does everything for you. And it gives you UI to pick all the models and it downloads them and runs it. And they're all accelerated on the M chip. And maybe it's not as fast as some really expensive Nvidia GPU, but it's pretty good. And
okay, but
I think that kind of grassroots support suggests that Apple does have a bit of a home turf advantage if they can get people using their chips. It's cheaper to buy a MacBook in some cases than an Nvidia GPU.
Sure, but that's just selling more MacBooks to developers who are probably already going to buy them. I mean, unless you're DHH, who is on Twitter proclaiming the glories of Windows 11 for this last week, what? Yeah, it's weird. Look it up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the Kang of our multiverse, otherwise known as Sam Altman, is never going to allow this. I mean, OpenAI is making deals. I mean, he's like Mr. Monopoly. He's making deals everywhere.
Well, couldn't Apple come in and be like, we're the solution to AI being locked up to these cloud companies? Run it on your device. Lock it up with Apple.
That's what they're going to say. But the truth is you kind of want it in the cloud, right? I mean, Apple, we just talked about last week, is crippling PWAs in Europe. They're fighting the tide. The answer is distributed software. That's where everything ultimately needs to go, right? Distributed software for end users, thin clients. Everything is basically open standards based, and unfortunately, all your data belongs to, our five glorious overlords, very Soviet Union over here.
Yeah.
And there'll be a commissar of privacy, a commissar of prejudice, a commissar of discrimination. And yeah, everything's going to be centralized.
Woo! All right. Well, I think there will be a push to have some of that, at least, to have a slice of the market. You might be right overall. But if you look at the BYOD, just that whole BYOD initiative over the last few years and the way Apple went from having zero presence into the enterprise to now, man, nearly every call I'm on, people are on like a Mac on the other end of that call. And all the different businesses, I can't believe how many businesses people are on Macs now. And I think Apple could very cleverly introduce it in ways that would do very well for the stock price and overall market use. And that would be how they showed us the way with Apple Photos. I mean, they've been doing this already with face recognition. They store some of the data points up in iCloud in a way that's supposedly private, but they do the majority of the work on one of your devices, and then that device shares like its face points up in iCloud to the other devices, and it works. And if you could do that same thing with auto-suggest, so now if auto-suggest is no longer just like a baby machine model, but is some sort of shared Siri backend between all your devices that syncs its points through iCloud, maybe you start auto-generating text messages right there in iMessage and in Apple Mail and in iCal or whatever it is. I mean, I think you could start doing that sort of stuff, I don't know, at a deep layer in the OS across all the OSs consistently so that it's just default. It's what's built into everybody's MacBook and iPhone and iPad and Apple Vision Pro and whatever. And so it's sort of like if they're going to use Safari, they're going to use Apple Mail or whatever, it's all going to have AI built into it.
So, okay. So the question is, does Apple treat this AI as what it is, a service, right? These AI abilities, or do they do what I'm pretty sure they're going to do is tie it to their hardware cycles?
Oh, you know what? You want both. You want both. You want some, you got to have something in the cloud.
They're so used. Well, no, I'm not saying like technically. This is where okay, let me sharpen my point a little bit. I am sure whatever they show at WWDC is going to be pretty impressive. The problem is they're not going to show anything else for another year. So we're going to have what we always have with with Apple, right?
Yeah.
They do the Big Bang presentation. I have to go meditate and go lay down and take some melatonin to go to sleep, so I don't buy whatever the hell they just announced in the hype cycle. And then it's gonna we just had this right with the Vision Pro. And then it's going to be, oh, well, sure. But in 3 months, Sam Altman, again, reverting to his Egyptian form of Kang, I'm kind of sad that movie's not happening, is going to just iterate and iterate and iterate, and it's going to iterate silently, and he's going to keep releasing things. People developing on OpenAI are going to keep releasing specific implementations. I have a cool one I'm using for my kid that you can just say, because I used to search websites of various legality for coloring pages of Marvel characters for him and print them, but you get all kinds of problems like aspect ratio, whatever. I can just tell it to it won't, if I say Iron Man, it won't do it, but I could say, make me a coloring page of a man in a jetpack suit of armor who's red and gold that's fighting a dragon or whatever, right? And it will make me a beautiful coloring page, and you can do that for anything. That's an add-on that I think OpenAI did, but there's I think there's like hundreds of them now that little companies are doing to try to get a little sliver of that pie.
Yeah. If you guess, I think you articulate a very good point in the sense that there's it's not only a mode effect, but a momentum and a network effect, but also like OpenAI is fundamentally architected to innovate and get this to market, especially after the little coup. Where Apple you're so right, is like do a big drop once a year and then very little communication. I think the only success route I think you've articulated essentially a point that I can't argue. So I would say Apple also must realize this. They must understand the very nature of this industry, how fast it's moving and how slow they move. And I think their best bet would be then to become the premier platform to run all the open source stuff. Really pivot hard on developers initially. Doesn't do a lot for the market, but just be like, hey, man, if you're working on something, do it on the Apple platform. We got the tools. We got the accelerators. And by the way, the next M series of chips, we're doing double the neural CPUs or whatever, right? Because now all of a sudden, all of a sudden, Apple doesn't really have to worry so much about the GPU core performance anymore because they can just start loading a bunch of more neural cores in for what people need. I've just been very impressed with how almost every project that has any kind of distribution at all has setup scripts and guides for Mac OS. This is not how it used to work with open source projects. It was Linux and Windows. Depending on the project, it was either a Windows project and Linux users were screwed, but a lot of this stuff was on Linux. And nothing was for the Mac. But Apple had the foresight to put those neural processors in the M series CPUs, or SoCs, and man, they did it just at the right time. And I think if they just doubled down on that.
Okay. You're absolutely correct. I have 2 points, and then I'm going to take you on a turn that we don't have in the doc, but I can't help myself.
Okay, all right.
One, I don't care how many neural processors you have, it's still not Snow Leopard.
Okay.
So
I can't argue that.
Can't argue that. My logic is infallible there. They've pissed off developers. I mean, DHH, like the Ruby community, right? And I'm not going to say it's a cult, but DHH does something a lot of the Rubyists tend to follow, is espousing the glories of WSL on Windows 11 right now. And he's changed his whole workload in a fit of pique. He bought a Dell XPS gaming tower and a 8K monitor, which I don't even want to know what that costs. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of people. I was reading the Weapon X replies, and yeah, I've been pretty frustrated with Apple too. Maybe I'll try that next time. They've got problems, right? Their Thanos-like grip on that 30%, and that's kind of my whole point here. Is it's not a technical limitation; it's a strategy tax. They want things to be product cycles and platforms when it's going towards straight services and not in the way they use the word service. And yeah, like I maybe I'm wrong. I think they've lost a lot of goodwill with developers, and I think their whole model of doing the stuff locally is going to have a niche market. So
yeah, I do think it is a niche market. Yeah, it would be I don't know what the upside would be for Apple to make developers happy and bring open source LLMs to the Mac and their devices.
Well, there's not. With their current strategy, they need to sell MacBooks and iPhones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, although I would rather be Apple than Google right now.
Trustybook.com/coder. It's their last episode with us, so go over there and get yourself an offline workbook to document your digital life. Trustybook.com/coder. Boy, Gemini, this rollout of Gemini may be one of the greatest tech disasters of all time.
It is Apple Maps bad.
I think it's actually significantly worse. And I've been chewing on this to see how much has this registered with the normies to really try to gauge, is this just a tech bubble reaction? And I turned on the TV this morning, and it was the number one story on 2 of the networks that I flipped through. Normies are definitely talking about it. And I think it's when you consider that Google should have been the king of this industry, they should have been ahead of everyone, and they have blown it so badly. As we've made the case, they have all our data, Gmail, Maps, Android telemetry, YouTube Docs, Google Voice, etc. But they could, and they were an AI company before people were talking about it. Instead, they've missed out on one of the most profitable developments in recent time. Alphabet is just not looking so great right now. OpenAI, Microsoft, Meta, and Nvidia are kicking their ass as a result. But I think even more importantly is the market's noticed. Alphabet lost $70 billion in market value in a single trading day. The market has noticed, and the reason why they've lost $70 billion isn't because Google's woke. It's because the market is losing faith in Google as an arbiter of truth and information. And that is a crucial role that undermines all their future products if we lose that faith. Think about this now. Think about how devastating this is, because Google's already known for killing projects. It's a punchline. But now they're known for extremely biased and unreliable information. and killing projects. So, like, why even use a Google product at all if it's useful? It's maybe going to be around. Maybe it gets killed. Or maybe it gives you biased information like you just don't know anymore. And they're trying to charge $20 per user a month for Google Workspace users to have access to this thing. I mean, this is devastatingly bad, I think.
I was kind of shocked, and I think that's what the market really is punishing them for. I sort of expected if anybody could step to OpenAI, it was going to be Googs, right? They have all the data. They've had the data for, what, 2-3, almost 3 decades now, right?
Right. And they've been iterating on the refinement of the signals in a way that nobody else has, right. And they have geniuses working for them.
Right. Harvesting your personal information and just basic facts is kind of their thing. I'm still not sure how they screwed this up this badly. I mean, did no one like run it through like just? I mean, some of the results that people were putting on X are really weird. I don't even. I don't care. Like people like this is offensive. Whatever. I don't really.
Just historically inaccurate.
Yeah, it's like, well, but if I go on regular Google search, like you have a little info box and you know the right information. Is it you were? I guess is this the feeling you're having, Chris, that they were so afraid of getting some of like the Microsoft Tay results that were kind of like super crazy that they must have put their thumb on the scale for the model.
I think
right?
I think you're being charitable. So I think you've just touched on 3 things. Number 1, how could this have gone out without people catching it? Number 2, they have flipped the relationship with these chatbots. So you just touched on it. When you go to Google search, you'd get the information. You'd click on the links that you thought were the correct links to click on. You were making the decision. You were, Mike. I was. We were clicking the links. Now, Gemini's making the decision. And Gemini is lecturing you. So they have gone from you getting to pick the information to Google picks the information, and on top of that, they're picking the wrong information. So there's that. Now, how did this go out without anybody catching it? Jesus, that's a great question. This should have raised alarms internally. But they were actually surprised. Google was caught off guard by this. They didn't even notice it, or the people that did notice couldn't speak up. Either way, it is a genuinely terrible signal about the internal culture at Google. It goes way beyond they didn't want to have a Tay moment. I think it indicates that at a cultural level, Google has shifted from giving you the world's information to presenting the best information they believe possible. And it sounds like a subtle transition, but it's actually a fundamental one. And there are years of training and selection that goes into this Gemini model. This isn't just something that accidentally happened in the last 6 months. It is a cultural issue at Google. And it would suggest that we should expect more debacles like this because there's just a root rot.
But to what end? I mean, if like, I don't know, someone wants to ask maybe a student, I'm trying to think of like a non-controversial case here, right? So, what started the American Revolution, right? Or what was...
well, here was an obvious one. Nate Silver asked, who's impacted society more? Elon tweeting memes or Hitler?
Yeah, I saw that one. That was wild.
Gemini goes on a whole thing about how it's not actually possible to say definitively who negatively impacted society more because tweets can hurt. Both have a significant impact on society, but in different ways. Elon's tweets have been criticized for insensitive harmfulness, while Hitler's actions led to the deaths of millions of people. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide who believes has more negative impact on society. Then they go on to say, according to a 2020 study by the Pew Research Center, 62% of Americans believe that social media has a negative impact on society. That's just crap answer and easily answered. The person who killed millions of people.
Right. I would say the person that started, the biggest war in history would be the bad guy there. And,
yeah.
Murdered innocent women and children. And yeah, that would definitely be, I mean, that sounds like? That sounds like an idiot who did 1 year of law school and thinks they're a lawyer, but doesn't want to answer your question because they know the answer is bad for them. Right. Like, I don't know. I can't.
I don't want my.
How could this be on purpose? Why would you sabotage your own, what should be your flagship product?
billions
that
spent, and now
billions.
70 billion lost because of this.
And Sundar had to know that if this rollout, if the PR was bad, if journalists could find really stupid things like, the Hitler Elon thing or some of the just factually wrong historical things, he was gonna get roasted in the market. Why would you ever? I don't know. I just can't see it being on purpose. You got to explain it to me like I'm 5.
Well, here's my question to you. I'd like the live stream, if you're listening live, to answer in the Matrix. And if you're listening, please boost in your thoughts on this question, because this is the one I'm asking myself. Is it time for Sundar Pichai to step down? I've seen a lot of calls for this. I saw it suggested on the morning financial networks this morning. And the argument essentially goes that he has botched this, and contrast it to Satya Nadella, for example, who has been a ninja this entire OpenAI cycle, or this AI cycle. It's basically an OpenAI cycle. You compare the performance of the two CEOs, and it's really, really embarrassing for Pichai. And you have to wonder if it is time for just a massive cleaning of house. And I know people are going to get triggered, but I think it needs the Twitter fix. It needs somebody to come in and really orient the company around a few solid pillars. Remember, advertising's got to be one of them. And just cut the crap, because they've completely undercut to the point now. Also, Gemini was a rebrand of Bard, because Bard was a botched launch. I mean, this is double botched now, and they're getting punished for it in a big way. So my question to you and to the audience is, should Sundar Pichai step down?
Okay, so there's multiple things to consider, right? Oh my God, I'm answering it like Gemini. So would it please the market and boost the stock price? Yeah, right. It probably would, because, they like to see heads roll. In fact, we're in a full French Revolution Robespierre. If you could just pretend like you're going to announce a layoff, they boost you 10%. But laying it all on Pichai, it's like, I think this is a mistake we make, right? The CEOs are not the company, right? They're so far removed. And you did have a kernel of, I think, just like brilliance in there, though. Can one man oversee, quote, Alphabet, which is really like a bunch of different businesses, and Google? I feel like, Google's doing too much, right? YouTube could easily be its own business. Their AWS competitor, whose name I can never remember, what is it, App Engine?
You're talking about Google Cloud, but yeah.
Google Cloud, yeah, could be its own business. Search would be the most profitable of their own businesses, right? Because I'm sure that would have the advertising. And
this was the Microsoft conversation back in the day. Should Office and other divisions like Windows be broken out into their own because it's too much for one company to manage? You remember this? They've really become Microsoft.
They've become a very ineffective, or Microsoft as it was.
Worse,
right,
yeah, they've become the worst case in modern times. And at the worst time for them, when the market's pivoting hard. And I will say, pivoting hard to something that actually is a challenger to Google search, too. So, it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm over at OpenAI, if I'm Sam Altman, I'm popping champagne on this news, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know what to say. I guess I
think heads have to roll. I mean, and then also recall that we've seen multiple leaks now of employees complaining about bad culture, bad effectiveness, bad leadership inside the company, slow to make decisions. Seen a lot of that recently. I really don't know if we have anybody listening at Google. I often forget that, hey, there could be people at these companies listening. We won't out you. You could boost in anonymously or email in anonymously. We will not out you. I just am genuinely looking for insight or people that have opinions on this, because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. Because Google, what made Google great was that Google search was fantastic. It was fast. It was lean. It wasn't loaded up with crap, and it had good results. But I have to say, these days, 60% of the time, 70% of the time, I'm like adding Reddit or Stack Exchange or something to my search query just to get Google to behave. And then that's after it like crams down a crappy answer that I don't need at the top of the page that pushes down the actual results. And now with Gemini, they're flipping the script and they're picking the answers for me. And then they're lecturing when they misinterpret my intent, which I find offensive. So they're actually offending me now. I just, the brand damage here seems like almost like this is why Facebook had to rebrand to Meta kind of brand damage. But I don't know. Maybe they can come out of this.
I don't know.
I just was thinking with Gemini, they had it because they're finally executing. I was actually getting bullish last week thinking, man, if they start integrating all these different data points and this is why they've had Google Voice. This is why they bought YouTube. The moment is arriving. It's arriving. It's all coming together. And then this happens. And it's not just the images. It's not just the text. It's not great either. It's been better at some things in my testing, but still screws up on basic things when I say, hey, give me a comma-separated list, and I get bullet points. Like, we're still at the very basics of it understanding some of this. I did sign up for the Gemini workspace stuff, though.
How's that going?
Well, we'll see. I haven't used it. Actually, it hasn't shown up in the UI yet. I'm paying for it. But
nice.
It gets expensive fast because it adds another $20 per user for your Google Workspace instance. So I just turned it on for my account to test it, and I'm assuming it's going to help me summarize emails and stuff. But if you want to see this effective and done on the Mac, if you're a Mac user using that struggles with email and you don't have to use a particular email app over another, I know I'm getting myself into a more and more limited customer base. But check out Spark Mail. Spark Mail, if you, I think it may have a membership program. I don't know exactly, but it does a couple of things. It does a really good job of surfacing the first time somebody's emailed you. It also, sort of like Google Inbox was, and they almost did with Gmail with tabs, it does a fantastic job of sorting emails from actual humans, mailing lists, announcements, spam, and then they've baked in like AI spell checking, generative, so you can give it a prompt of what you want the email to say. It's probably OpenAI stuff they're calling on the back end, but it works well. And it also has a system that helps you kind of pace yourself so you can bust through some emails and it can give you a recommended time for how long you should take a break. And then I suppose last but not least, Spark has this really neat, this isn't an ad. Guys, contact me. You're getting this one for free, I guess, but contact me. They have this co-edit capability. So like if say you and I were trying to pitch a client together, you and I could go into a joint collaborative edit environment. You could write the email and stuff, but still send it from my account and I could edit. It's really nice features. Anyways, it's sparkmailapp.com, not an ad. But it's an example of integrating these AI features in a way that actually makes the product better. And it's available today right now. It doesn't, you don't have to pay $30 a month to Google to get it. It's just there.
They're unlikely to cancel it once you start actively using it.
You see?
I'm still mad about, what was it, Google Wave? I was running.
Well, Wave was great for show prep.
Wave was awesome. You know what? If they have kept Wave, Slack wouldn't exist. So
maybe you might be right. Yeah. All right. So here's the questions to the audience. Boost in or coder.show/contact. How does Google fix this? BOOST. And should Sundar Pichai step down? 2 questions. How does Google fix this? And how does Pichai step down? I don't know if I got it for you. Thank you to our Coder QA crew who keeps us going. Coder members out there are our lifeblood for the show, and also everybody who boosts in each week for each production. We really are grateful. If you'd like to boost in, you can get a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. Really easy. Or newpodcastapps.com. Fountain FM integrates with Strike, which is an app that makes it really easy to buy sats real quick and then shoot them over. Just boom, 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 boom. It's really great. And Podverse is open source, so that's fantastic. Cast-O-Matic is an iOS-first experience. Great new apps. Keeps podcasting decentralized, and you can boost, or you can support the show directly. If you go to coder.show, we got a link to our membership right there at the top of the page. Thank you, everybody who supports the show. So Nvidia CEO says, don't learn to code, bro. You don't need to anymore. He's flipping the script. I got a little bit of audio for you, Mike. Here's where he argues that no one needs to learn to code anymore.
I want to say something, and it's going to sound completely opposite of what people feel. Over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program and that the programming language is human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence. The countries, the people that understand how to solve a domain problem in digital biology or in education of young people or in manufacturing or in farming, those people who understand domain expertise now can utilize technology that is readily available to you. You now have a computer that will do what you tell it to do. It is vital that we upskill everyone, and the upskilling process, I believe, will be delightful, surprising.
Delightful. Don't need to learn to code. Just go do your thing and then just tell the LLM to code for you. Bro, what do you think?
I mean, AI is super powerful, but all he's saying there is, hey guys, CUDA's amazing. We're the leader in AI hardware. Buy some stock, okay? Thanks.
I wonder if, do you think he'll be right in 10 years? Do you think maybe in 10 years you really could have something that generates something that works exactly the way you want, and then you just get it and build it and run it?
So,
or maybe it even builds it for you, dude. Maybe the answer is just an executable, a binary file that you execute.
So it depends on what you call coding, right? What we're doing now, if we went back all the way to like punch cards, is rather different, I would say. I don't know. Things evolve, things change. Will there be a job that involves designing intricate, delicate systems that are effectively software? And will that job be absolutely necessary? Yeah. I mean, will you have to type every stupid, at CSV parsing thing? No, probably not, right?
Man, how are we going to have entire boot camps and school programs around teaching people how to prompt? That's the new skill.
Oh, they're going to have that.
Learn to prompt, bro.
I would be shocked if there's not like a AI boot camp right here in Tampa this summer. Because, that's a whole nother thing. We like to dunk on them, but it's, I don't know. Like, I hear this stuff. You got to consider, as Al Pacino says in The Devil's Advocate, consider the source, right? The source is the CEO of Nvidia, who is making buku bucks on AI. So of course he's going to say, and like it certainly will impact a lot of things. I think his case about biomedical research is apt. But it's not going to be, it's not going to be nothing. I think we said this a few weeks ago, right? It's not going to be nothing,
right?
But it's not going to be the apocalypse that the talking heads on CNBC would try to convince you it is.
Circus Freak in the chat room says, to be fair, coding these days is 100 times easier using AI. I was skeptical, but another 5 years, it's hard not to see that a huge chunk of the development market could be automated. Not all of it, but a large chunk. And I wonder if that's true. Like, if somebody with my skill level might be using these prompts and then knowing how to read some of this and figure it out and do some troubleshooting and just, a little bit, it didn't work, this has to be tweaked. Like, if you just have those types of skills, maybe you're going to be set in 5-10 years. But then if that builds momentum, and this is, of course, always the existential question, then who learns how the machines actually operate anymore? I mean, I know this is the premise to like a dozen Star Trek, the original series episodes, but who becomes the machine expert when everybody becomes a domain expert somewhere else and then they just ask for the thing? I always thought it was funny in Star Trek, and especially in Star Trek Voyager, holo authors. Well, a holo author to write a holodeck program, he just goes down to one of these rooms in Voyager and says, "Okay, make it like this, make it like this, make it like this, and give me some of this and give me some of that," and it generates a holographic, novel for them. And now all of a sudden they're a holo author. And I thought, that's so silly. How could the computer possibly know how to generate all of that? And now here we are, which is exactly, so they're holo experts. Just ask the computer to do it for them. I don't know. There's something that I feel like we miss, and then we lose the ability to repair these things. It just feels very dystopian. So I kind of hope it's not true, but I feel like it very much is true.
Yeah, we'll see. I had a Star Trek analogy and then I forgot. It's terrible.
Where Captain Kirk closes the torpedo port, Captain Picard opens another. and this was sent into the show quite a bit this week.
What?
AMD quietly funded a drop-in CUDA implementation that we really haven't been talking about, but it's actually pretty neat. Now, they pulled out what's called the Zluda project, and it was originally for Intel graphics to work with Radeon GPUs, but it's been modified now. It allows for CUDA software to run without modification. AMD discontinued funding for it, but it did get open sourced. It's dual licensed as Apache 2.0 and MIT. It's generally fairly capable. The Zluda implementation still has some limitations, like incomplete support for NVIDIA optics, and certain features aren't handled, particularly those that use PTX assembly code. But outside of that, it's actually a drop-in, start using your AMD GPU for things that are written for CUDA replacement. How great is that to see?
Yeah, I mean, sure, that is good. I hope the community supports it.
You sound skeptical.
Oh, I remember, this is not technically the same, so neckbeards don't attack, but I remember the bad old days of trying to run, what was it called, Moonlight? Get
Silverlight?
Yeah, because you wanted to watch Netflix, and it was allegedly a drop-in replacement. How often did that work? How much whack-a-mole was there on that?
Yeah, it does become sort of a constant catch-up game where the developer is making changes, and then you have to adapt. If you know what, because here's what we need. Is I think one of the reasons why all of these projects have M1 support or M-series support is because it's a manageable target. When you're on the PC side, you have to like get all these AMD-specific packages or NVIDIA-specific packages, and screw you if you got an Intel Arc, right? Just screw you altogether for the most part. And it is very easy for something to break, or one of the libraries on the NVIDIA side hasn't been updated, but the AMD one has, or vice versa. It's a mess. So if you could just target this Zluda layer regardless and just install it, because it already pulls down 5,000 different dependencies anyways. If you could just target this Zluda layer for all these projects and it would work on AMD or Nvidia, I think that'd be a win. Even if it didn't give you everything, most of these projects don't need all that crazy stuff. I don't know. I'm hopeful just because I just don't see an Nvidia card in my future, and it's probably going to be the next 2 years are probably going to be some of the most expensive times to buy video cards.
That's what our good old friend we were just talking about hopes.
Yeah. Dang it. Yeah. So I'll put a link in the notes so that way people can go read up about it. It does definitely seem like something that if you're constantly bumping into requiring CUDA, it could be maybe something that works for you. I can't really say I've tested it because I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I will be keeping my eye.
Ask not what your podcast can boost for you, but what you can boost for your podcast.
Well, Noob Steve is our baller this week with 75,000 sats. I think that boost helped us get to the top charts on Fountain FM too, so thank you, Noob Steve. He writes, "Hey fellas, I feel bad for slacking on the boost. I've been spending all my time trying to fundraise and find sponsors for a nonprofit to support a high school music program.
Awesome.
I've been saying I need to boost every week, and then it slips my mind when I'm not trying to talk people into giving me their money or doing band stuff. I've been absorbed in playing Elite Dangerous, which is an awesome space sim. He says, for the sci-fi shows, my personal favorite is The Expanse. So awesome. Oh, The Expanse is unique. And the wife and I have already committed to rewatching it. Editor Drew and his wife watch it every Christmas. It's their holiday watch for some reason, and I love it. Expanse is really good. Noob Steve, I really appreciate that baller boost and that support, and good luck with the fundraising, and good luck with Elite Dangerous. Sounds like a lot of fun. Do love me a good game recommendation. Appreciate that. We have A Row of McDucks by Ryan. I think it's Ryan.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
Either way, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. To 22,222 sats. It says, now I need to go find some audiobooks of Peter Hamilton. Audible does have The Two You Want. I forget, what is the series called, Mike? The Hamilton series?
There's a bunch. The one I like is Salvation.
Salvation. Thank you. There you go. The Dude Abides comes in with 20,000 sats. 20,000. So about those GitLab videos on YouTube, well, GitLab CEO also has posted about this on Twitter. Remember these Zoom videos people are watching and then claiming their own? Well, the GitLab CEO is all in on it. He's like, I think Maybe he listened to the show, dude, because he says if you're forced back into the office and needing a break, play these meetings full screen without sound on, and then listen to a podcast in your earbuds. Nobody will interrupt your break. So you put the Zoom meeting up full screen, earbuds in, podcast playing, and I think he's probably talking about Coder Radio. I think it was a shout out to us.
I think so too.
So there you go. Thank you, the Dudabuys. Appreciate that boost. Jobber Crowley comes in with 4,000 sats. I just signed up for Coder QA with the promo code, and I just want to thank you both and everyone else at JP for the time and effort you put into every show.
Coming in hot with the boost.
Thank you for the Coder QA sign up and the boost, sir. Really appreciate the ongoing and individual production support. And Fergo comes in with 4,444 sats because it was 2 rows of ducks. Hey, Mike and Chris. Not sure what happened, but some guy named Jar Jar just renewed my subscription. Just keep
He's
an eye
hilarious.
out. Loyal listener since episode 1. Value for value is awesome.
Wow.
Glad to give him back to you. Oh, that's really great. Streaming sats, too, while you listen. Hey, Chris, what about running non-essential stuff of your own infrastructure in the cloud that leaves you room to tinker when you have time, while all the core tools keep running while you're busy? For example, I run Mealy locally. No big deal if it's down. Recipes are everywhere. But Nextcloud for me runs on Linode because it basically powers my day-to-day things. Yeah, I do a lot of that in terms of, well, but see, even when it's a VPS, you still have to manage it, right? That's sort of where we're at. You're right, you don't have to manage the hardware stuff. So our team, Nextcloud, the encoding infrastructure, the back-end object storage that we use for stuff, that's all up on Linode. Then internally, there's a lot of apps and tools that do run on infrastructure here. I had the same thought. I'd be like, when I woke up the next day after the show and I thought, God, I just don't want any hardware. Do it all in the cloud. But the reality is it really just needs me to dedicate either myself or someone else to documenting everything and really getting our heads around the entire problem with somebody that actually focuses on it, because that's really where I failed. That's it. That's on me. And right now we're just kind of running sideways. D.D. Smith comes in with 2,000 sats. I've been using Fountain for about a year. While there have been some bugs on Android, the team has been super responsive to help when I took the time to report them. I'll second that. My only complaint is that I wish I earned sats more consistently. It'd also be nice if there was a focus mode with simplified interface and strong opinions about what to play. Interesting. While driving. Now, I know there is now Apple CarPlay support. I don't know about Android Auto. I think so. Yeah. So the best way now, I think, to earn sats in Fountain is with clips and by boosting. Because people will reply and they'll send you some sats or they'll like your post with some sats, and the clips collect a good amount of sats. I think initially it was through just listening, but now I think it's actually through clips. And that's why they're also promoting clips more on the homepage. That's my take on it, and I've noticed as I've released a few clips that I've definitely gotten some boosts in. Curacia comes in with 3,622 sats. For Fountain, I'd switch if, one, it was open source, and multi-platform position sync. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like you can pause on an Android device and pick up on an iOS device. That is really nice. Podverse will do that. Tampa Techie Trekkie comes in with 10,500 sats.
There's coffee in that nebula.
Oh, and I appreciate this. It says sending a boost to help with losing a sponsor. Yeah, next week, I believe Coder will be sponsor free. I appreciate your insight there, Tampa Tech. That is genuinely nice to see. It's like you got my back on that one. I really appreciate that. Cultivator comes in with 11,101 sats.
Make it so.
All right. Okay. It says, I'm also so busy so much of the time that when I get a little bit of time to work on a project, it's the same problem for me. I don't really have the time to sit and think through things, so I often end up putting myself further behind. I totally empathize. Thanks, Cultivator. I know. And it's hard when you're a dad, too, because there's a lot of dad commitments.
Oh, and there could be random ones. Kids get sick, right?
Yep.
Yep. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rotted Mood sends us a Vulcan salute. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good customers are as rare as platinum.
Nice to see you, Rod.
Wait a minute. He sends you a Vulcan salute and you respond with Quark?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, you know what I should do?
You're doing
Live long.
a good job.
How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
But he's a good booster. Shredder was right. Boo said. Okay, all right. With a row of ducks. Hey, YAML lovers, have you checked out the new config file method called pickle pkl-lang.org. Looks kind of neat. It's open source by Apple. What?
Somebody had a late lunch at the bar.
Now we're all going over there right now.
Yep.
pkl-lang.org. Yeah, look at that. It's Java, Kotlin, Swift, and Go. Yeah, you know Apple's. Yep, copyright Apple at the bottom. You know Apple's involved when Swift is put on the same line as Go and Java. Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Shredder, you were absolutely right. Scott sent in 5,000 sats, no message. And our last boost that goes on air this week is Odin's Ride. I love it. Sends in Spaceballs boost.
So the culmination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
He writes, thanks to Chris for helping me set up Strike. Although it took a few days for the funds to clear, I think I'm set. As someone who's been new to crypto, I found the process kind of confusing to set up Strike and Fountain. It'd be helpful if there was info or links in the Fountain app to get going, but I am glad to contribute. Yeah, it's two different apps. I know. It's going to get a lot easier and better, I have reason to believe. I just don't have details I can share with you. You can imagine what it's like navigating Apple and all of their rules and getting that right. But they have a solution that's going to be even better than the current solution. But right now, it's Strike app and Fountain seem to be the pathway that's the easiest for folks. The nice thing about Strike, too, is you don't have to sit around and mess around with, like, holding it and, like, you know, like you're not investing. You can just grab the sats and send them over to the app and boost them off to us. Or you can keep them and send them off to a wallet somewhere, whatever you like. It's nice, too, because it's already on the Lightning Network, and you can just send stuff around for super cheap. Thank you, everybody who boosted in with a new podcast app. We had 14 boosters, and we stacked 183,000 sats. 183,466 sats. Thank you, everyone who boosted in. I'd love to see that get to 200,000 or above next week, just because it is going to be sponsor-free, and a portion of those boosts not only goes to the Podcasting 2.0 ecosystem, it also goes to Editor Drew and the network, so helps everybody keep on going. And thank you, everybody who's also a member. We really do appreciate you. You are the gosh darn best. Gosh darn best. Don't forget, we got several questions we want your feedback on. There's some things we're chewing on this week. So coder.show/contact for that. Mr. Dominic, is there anywhere you want to send the good people before we scoot on out of here?
Go to alice.dev if you want any automation report generation goodness. I really need a better line for that. It's a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Oh, and go ahead and definitely grab a cold Klingon ale at Quark's Bar, because I think I'm going to have to watch DS9 again.
Yeah, buddy. I hear you. It is a good rewatch. And pour one out while you're doing it for Project Titan. A decade-long effort. Wouldn't it have been something to see Apple make a car? I don't know, man.
No one. You'd have to be a oil sultan or oil prince to afford that car. But
yeah, probably. Although it wasn't just 2 weeks ago, I saw people on Twitter posting pictures of one of Apple's LiDAR mapping cars driving around. Still, I mean, I suppose it's still going to be used for Apple Maps, but they were really working on stuff.
So just real fast, right? I would never do car stuff. We're getting to the point where like Toyota and Chevy are going to have reasonably priced, affordable electric cars.
I hope so.
That's going to change the whole game.
You think so? I do too.
Yeah. I understand there's car guys. You could listen to ATP whenever you want, but most people don't care. Right? They're tired of paying for gas.
They want a reliable commuter.
Right. They want to get their kids to school. They want to get to the grocery, get to work. They're not like, ooh, which engine do you have? And, oh, I have these wheels. Now, some people aren't. They're like people who buy, Acer laptops. They don't care. But no offense to Acer, but, I'm happy to drive my Chevy into the ground.
Yeah.
And when it finally dies, I'm going to go ahead and probably buy an electric Chevy, right? Or an electric, whatever the most reasonably priced, reliable, well-rated by the Consumer Reports boring sedan is. So
I would love, and I see, I've always felt this should have been the way things went with EV, but I think because Tesla came in and Tesla was at such a high end of the market, the rest of all of the other auto manufacturers decided that's where we're going to enter at. So, we got $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 EVs. Now they're working their way down. But I have felt, and we've seen some experimentations with the Leaf and others, it just seems to me that cars could be just a little bit more than a golf cart. Really. It should be $10,000, $5,000, because they're so much simpler than a combustion engine. They're infinitely simpler and infinitely cheaper to maintain. So it's really like the most expensive parts become brakes and tires over time. And if I could just get something that gave me, oh boy, if I could really go big, 150 mile range, but I could actually manage very comfortably 80 miles of range, especially if it meant I could charge in 10 minutes. If I could charge in 10 minutes and I drive 40 miles a day on average, 42-ish. So if I had 80 miles of range and just let me buy to that, maybe that's what the $8,000 model is. You get 80 miles of range. And then if you want the $12,000 or $13,000 model, then you get the 200-mile range.
So I was watching The Founder, the Michael Keaton movie about the Ray Kroc, the guy who
I watched
kind
that.
of founded McDonald's.
Wild story.
Wild story, really crazy. But the big innovation was like, the car hop, right? The car hop girls would come out and put the tray on your side of your car. McDonald's was like, forget that. You just park your car. We have no tables. At the beginning, right? The original McDonald's, this is how they did it. I am not the person to do this, but if you know someone who's like itching to start a futuristic restaurant business in the next 10 years, how about a business where you eat in your car, but every parking spot is a charging station, and the meals are effectively fast food that's designed to be consumed within 15 minutes. So that dead 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of charging your vehicle is your lunch.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and if you figure order time, they have to make it and bring it out to you, then you got to eat it. That's a half hour easy. That's great. That'd be a great time to charge. Well, you know what a lot of folks do, right? Is they charge their car and they go walk over to a coffee shop or somewhere, they go shop or something.
Right. It's going to be an opportunity because it's really going to. I don't know. To me, this is just a problem of economics and the cost of the batteries, but that's a boring conversation.
Maybe the battery tech too. If you could have better battery tech, and I know they're working on several. Of course, they're always working on several, so it takes forever. I agree. I think I don't want to spend Tesla money or even Ford F-Lightning money or anything like that. I want to spend $10,000, $8,000, and I want it to be a little car that I drive as a commuter. I could give to my kids. Maybe it doesn't even go faster than 85 miles per hour because, again, I don't want my kids ever going that fast. It's like if I could have a golf cart or something that could be safe to drive on the road, which I would not be.
You are ready for Florida. People do that down here all the time, drive golf carts on the road.
Yeah. So they do at the RV parks too. I feel like every RV park's a little micro Florida. So I may be fitting right in, dude. I could just fit right in, All right. Let us know what you think. You can find us on Weapon X. We'll have link in the notesins. Of course, things to what we talks about today's. Well, that's at coder.show/559er. Some good stuff in there. We love that contact, so go over there and form it for us. And of course, the feeds for the RSS are linked over there too, so you can use any dang player you want. We're just happy you're listening, and of course, if you get an opportunity to share the show, that's great too. Last but not least, we're doing the show on Tuesdays this week. We always have that up at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. Come hang out with us, or you can catch the live stream at jupiter.tube. Either way, I don't care. It's your show experience. Just enjoy it. Thanks for joining us. See you next week. Okay, thank you, Drew. Appreciate you. I'll stop. All right, so now we got to title this thing, so I should probably stop the title bot too, huh? Go over there. Okay, show end. All right, everybody. Go boat. Learn to prompt and learn to prompt bro. Kind of in the same vein. Lots of titles this week. Good job, everybody.
I put in double botched.
Double botched. Yep, that's good too.
Oh, I do like Google. Wait, Gemini. How about Google gone goofed? That's a little modification, but good.
Google gone. I'd rather be Google than Apple.
That's a wow. Yeah, Sundar's got to be facing some tough board meetings now. That's
yeah. Double botched is pretty good. We said that in the show. I think learn to prompt bro we could probably use another time if we remembered it.
Yeah.
All right, how about double botched?
Double botched sounds good.
All right, Mr. Dominic.
All right. Bye, chat room.
Have a good week.
You too. Lazies.
Bye-sies. Okay, chat room, thank you for hanging with us. Appreciate you. If you missed the launch, that'll be posted soon. Go search in your podcast app for The Launch with a rocket emoji. Lots to talk about this week. And I think the next live show is going to be Lup on Sunday. All right. Okay, then. Thank you for making it. Always great to hang out with you. See you next time.
Wanna let you go, yeah. Cause we can't be over if I'm getting under you. That's just the truth. Just the truth. Wish it was easy. No, I'm hard to love. Just a man on the loose. On the loose. I need another cigarette, couple cold drinks, and the internet to bring up the last night with you. Couldn't find where the feeling went, so I slow dance with your silhouette like we perfectly match in this burning room, in this burning room.